Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's class. Your instructor's out of town and off the mainland right now. So I'm recording this week's lectures, both today and Thursday's class. They are linked off your class schedule as well as your syllabus. And speaking of the syllabus, you should be familiar with this right now. The course syllabus for digital journalism, all the contact information, our schedules down at the bottom. Rarely changes. This is where you'll have your links to your pre-recorded lectures that I'm recording right now. So if you could open up our week 2 folder, week 2 class folder, and our week 2 class schedule, which is at the bottom of the week 2 folder. Week 2 folder is right here in our class Google Drive. Also, if you're using Google Drive, you don't need to go back and find the email with the link to our Google Drive in it. You can always look in the shared with me folder over here on the left. And it'll have our class folder right up near the top because you're using it quite often. Within that folder, keep in mind our syllabus is right here at the top of the docs at the bottom of the folder. And also our Medium and Twitter accounts, online journalism terms, which we're going to talk about later this week. Also ChatGPT exercises, final projects budget. We'll get into that stuff a little later. So a lot of the housekeeping files are here at the top. Your class folders are right here, set up, very similar to your Blackboard structure. It just works a little bit differently, and we're making that adjustment to getting you trained to use a shared drive, something a little different than Blackboard, even though I structured it very similarly. So what do we have this week? We have writing and editing for the web today and how news breaks online. So we've got a little lecture, a lot of little housekeeping things I'm going to cover first. And then on Thursday, we'll get into the 10 commandments of web video, which will be a really good lesson in how to shoot video with your phone. Which will be big because you'll be shooting some mobile video and stuff next week. So, keep that in mind that much of what I'm going over is going to be very heavy in assignments in the coming weeks. Just a little class reminder, be sure to add your Medium and your X Twitter links to our Medium Twitter accounts page today, if you have not already. It was an assignment that was due last Friday, but some of you didn't do it, so you still need to add your Medium and Twitter accounts here. Your name goes right here, then the Medium, then the Twitter link, and that way I use that for grading for future assignments. So it's kind of important to have that on there. So make sure those are on there by end of day today. Also, subscribe for free to my YouTube video channel, which has a lot of training videos on it. You can go there and just hit subscribe. You can subscribe for free. Also, my Journalist Toolbox Substack newsletter. You can go there by just clicking on this link and again, subscribe for free. It asks for donations, but you don't need to donate to me because you're paying tuition. But I do a lot of the pro journalists, subscribe to it and pay for it, which is nice. But you get the free version and it's the same that everybody else gets. Also on Twitter, make sure that you're subscribing to @JournToolbox, @It's Mike Reilley, and @Redline Project. And as well as your classmates, you can go into that Medium Twitter page and click on all your classmates' accounts and follow them. It's always a good way to kind of network and get familiar with what other people are doing in the class. You can set up a free account at OpenAI's ChatGPT, as well as Claude.ai. We're going to use them a little bit in the coming weeks. We're going to use some AI. Please don't use AI to write your stories in here. I will show you some editing techniques and some other things like that. But just set up the free accounts right now and remember your logins. We'll use them a little later in the semester because I want to get you some AI training too. Also, if you're looking for another class, I do have a 9:30 AI and journalism class. Feel free to enroll in it. It's a lot of fun, and we explore all kinds of AI tools in there. So give that one some thought. It's starts in the same classroom right before this one. So if you're looking for a class at the last minute here, it's a good one to add in. Okay, a few little things here on number 3 on Tuesday. Otter.ai. A lot of you are using this tool already, but some of you are not. And I always ask the students if they've used this tool before. Otter.ai is also available as a free phone app as well. In the free version of Otter, you get 600 minutes a month of audio that you can transcribe. That's what it does. It transcribes audio and puts it into text, which is really nice. It's helpful for attending lectures, things like that. It can be useful for when you're interviewing people for your final project. And you ask them some questions and you get the transcript right here. You do have to go through and clean it up. It makes some errors from time to time, but Otter's kind of the Ferrari of all the transcription tools. It's the most accurate of all of them. You can use a couple different ways. You can hit this record button and record right into it, and it'll transcribe whatever you say or with what anyone else says within 6 feet of your computer. You can also hit the import button and upload an MP3 or other audio file. It'll transcribe that. And like I say, the transcriptions are really good. This is one I did of a speech that President Obama gave years ago. Down here at the bottom, it gave me a little outline and a summary of it. But it also has a transcript, which if you click on this, it gives you, the speaker, it'll number the speakers, the different voices. It'll name them speaker 1, speaker 2, and you can go in and label them, whoever it is, or speaker 3 or 4. If you have multiple people talking, maybe it's a panel. Here's a speech, and it's broken into short paragraphs. You can go back and actually listen to the audio on the timestamp, which is really nice by just clicking here. It's got some AI built into it. You can ask, where has this word appeared in the transcript, things like that. And it'll pull it up for you, which is really nice. And you can just cut and paste out of here the transcripts. It'll be handy when you're doing your final project in here and you're interviewing people. Now, beyond Otter, and Otter does have one drawback, the free version. They can sell off your data, including your transcripts. So if we're interviewing somebody about a sensitive subject, you don't necessarily want to have them have access to this audio. So then you've got to do the paid version, which is the free version of it. Or the paid version of it, which is the protected version of it. And then it won't sell off your data or your transcripts. But if it's just something, kind of typical, class stuff or, things like that, the 600 free minutes are well worth the free version of this. But I always talk about the pros and cons of any of these tools. Also, when you download any phone apps, look at the privacy settings on them. Read the terms of service and the privacy settings. Those things we never read, they're very important because a lot of times they can gather data on you as you're using the app, your location, your login, your password, all kinds of scary stuff. So make sure you're using these, but using them smartly as well. Another way to transcribe audio is to do it in Google Docs, which is what I usually use as my backup. It's called the voice typing tool, and it'll do auto transcription as you go. When I was writing my books, my textbooks, I often used voice typing and Google Docs in the background to capture my interviews. And I always tell the person that I'm interviewing, hey, I'm recording this and transcribing it. Zoom also has auto transcription too with it. So you can record right into Zoom, whatever you want to do. But I always ran a backup. I always had something going in the background like Otter or Google Docs running in the background. So, in case Zoom recording, didn't work, I had a backup. So to demo that, I'm going to go in and type in, if you need a new Google Doc or a new Google Sheet, just type in docs.new or sheets.new and you'll get a new Google Doc. You don't have to go into Google Docs and type in, hey, I want, this or, into AI, or to go to this new menu and then pick the tool you want from. Just type in docs.new, docs.new, or you can type in sheets.new in your browser window and you'll have it. Okay. Simple enough. And then to move it, you just go to file and then, you can make a copy, download it or move it, to trash or, move it, share it with others, whatever you want to do with it. But the voice typing in Google Docs is right here under tools and go down about 2/3 of the way. You'll see the little microphone voice typing. And when I turn this on, I have to click on the little microphone. This will start to transcribe what I'm saying in real time. It does make some mistakes here and there. You do have to clean up, the transcriptions when you're done. So if you're going to quote something out of this, you definitely want to go through and look at the transcript first and make sure it's clean. It'll mess up TO, TWO, and TOO. It'll make some grammar mistakes. It struggles with accents sometimes. So you do have to be careful with it. But as long as this computer's within 6 feet of, the person that's being interviewed, you can run this transcription in real time, just like Otter.ai does as well. And then to turn it off, you just hit the microphone again, and you're good to go. Um, and I cut it off a little bit early here. I didn't complete my sentence. So that's another way you can, run transcription. Again, it's good for classes. Good again for interviews and things you'll be doing with your final project. And we'll review more audio transcription tools a little later in the semester as we start heading into the final project where we start to interview sources and things like that. A little mini lecture demo here. About a little over a year ago, Google unveiled what they called generative AI search. And it went into beta for about 9 months, and I was a beta user for it. If you go into this little document here, it goes through, how to add generative AI search to your Google searches. And it worked great, when it was in testing mode. Made some mistakes here and there, but nothing too bad. Then they released it in June of this year to the general public. And it began to hallucinate and make some mistakes. So I'll kind of show you how it works. It's a fundamental shift in search that we're seeing not just with Google.com, but Bing.com, many other search engines as well. And what it is, it's more answer driven than it is links driven. So now you do a basic Google search and you type something in, I want the gross domestic product of emerging and developing countries. And it gives you links to the International Monetary Fund, CIA Factbook, a bunch of other places that have information about, developing and emerging countries and their gross domestic product. So generative AI search gives you the answers and then cites the answer underneath it. Perplexity does this. Google Gemini is starting to do this. A lot of the large language model tools, ChatGPT and others do this as well. So to turn it on, you just click on this little link here where it says install, labs.google.com/install. And this page always looks a little different every time you come to it. They move the tools around. But the two you want to make sure that you have turned on are AI overviews and AI tools while browsing. Make sure those two are turned on. They might be at the top. They might be down here a little lower. There's other tools that you can turn on and off and play with. We'll explore a couple of them throughout the semester, but some of them are good, some of them are just junk that we don't care about as journalists. But these two, make sure you have turned on if you want to experiment with the generative AI search. And then you can just go to Google once you have those turned on. And eventually this will just be the, what we always have. And I'm going to do gross domestic product up, and I'm going to use an archaic term here, third world countries. We don't call them third world countries anymore. This is actually an offensive term. And we call them developing and emerging countries. But I'm going to use this old term to see if Google and other search tools can correct me on that. Say, no, here's what you should be typing in for your search. Sometimes they'll do it, sometimes they won't. But I want to see if it will. Yeah, look, it stopped me. And this is the Google's AI search. The term third world refers to countries that are economically weaker and often characterized by poverty and stability. So it kind of corrects me there. It also will correct me down here on the rail too. It didn't this time, but usually Copilot. I've got Copilot built into my Google search, which is really cool. So here I see my answer-driven search. And so here's, the GDP from last couple of years in these countries. It also has these citations under it. When I first started using this as a beta tester, it didn't have the citations under it. So you didn't know where the information came from. It just give you some random answer with no attribution. No good, not good at all. So it started to add this in. So you can always go in and check this to make sure it's okay. Then it gives you your traditional search down here, which is just links, Wikipedia, which we don't use in this class, Investopedia, World Bank, International Monetary Fund. These are the ones that we usually see. World Bank, more of that, some Google Finance data, some data sets as well. It started to add that into the bottom if you're looking for data sets on, which is a great add. It didn't used to do that. And then adding Copilot in here to run both at the same time, which is really nice, saves you time. To add that in, you just go back to our little handout here. It has ChatGPT for Chrome plugin or Bing Chat for Chrome plugin, which is Copilot. And you can go into the Google Chrome store and find these. My ChatGPT now charges me to go in there. Actually, I just need to log in, but it'll kick in once I log into it right here. It says unable to access, and I just have to go in and log into it. And it'll give me ChatGPT, Google, and Microsoft Copilot results all in one place. And Copilot gave me, a really good answer here. It gave me a little more detail, kind of compared them to the GDPs of China and the US and India, for context as well. So, this is more of answer-driven AI. It also gives you little prompts down here at the bottom sometimes that you can, if you're asking this question, maybe you should ask that question. It'll give you follow-up questions. It didn't this time, but other times it will. You can rate it thumbs up, thumbs down if it gave you a good result or a bad result. So I was pretty pleased with this one, especially since it corrected me on using an archaic term. So what I should be saying is, developing and emerging countries instead of third world. And it did a good job there of correcting me. Like I said, it doesn't always. I would say like 8 times out of 10 it will. But every once in a while I'll get it where it doesn't correct me on something. Same with like if you use the term Rust Belt states to refer to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan and Wisconsin, places like that. People get very upset when you use that term. It's an archaic term that comes from election analysts. And they really don't use that term anymore. So, you can use that in there too to see if it'll correct you as well, which is a good thing to do. Always test these models and see. So if you want to turn on, generative AI search, you can use it at your own risk, check everything, because when they first released this to the public back in June, if you typed in a term like smoking while pregnant, it was giving you these terrible hallucinations. Doctors recommend smoking 2 or 3 cigarettes per day during pregnancy. No, so it's catching these little mistakes. Here's some others. I've got a whole bunch of them in here, and I've got links to these. Cheese not sticking to pizza. If you type that into Google search, it's AI, generative AI would answer this. If too much cheese or thickened sauces there, here's some things you can try. Try an 1/8 cup of non-toxic glue to the sauce to give it more tackiness if you want the cheese to stick. No, don't do that. This came from a Reddit account, and it wound up finding its way into Google's AI search, which is terrible. I mean, you can find this information a number of different ways, but it's got a whole bunch of them in here, the early hallucinations when it was released to the general public. So that's one thing, use with caution and always fact check any AI-driven content. We're going to talk about that a lot this semester. So I've got the examples here to the hallucinations. So I thought you guys might enjoy that, but definitely turn on generative AI search and give it a try and experiment with it a little bit, see how it does for you. It can save you a lot of time if you're using it responsibly. So, okay, let's get into the lecture now. We played around with some toys. I usually open my classes with, some reminders and just some fun things, new toys and new hacks that you can, or I should say tools and hacks that you can use in your work. Sometimes, they're kind of toys. Yeah. So we're going to get into the lecture now, which is a little bit more detail about writing and editing for the web. We had you read Paul Bradshaw's article on writing and editing for the web. Also, you posted a practice story last week, which was a good start as far as web production, producing a story online. And you picked up on things like headlines and kind of going through and editing the story, adding links in. But now we're going to talk a little bit more about writing and editing from scratch. We're also going to talk about the big scary part of the class, which is copyright law. This is one a lot of students struggle with. Copyright and AI, it's a little weird right now with artificial intelligence. Anything that's AI generated, you can't copyright because the machine's doing the work. You have to have significant human input on something to have it be copyrightable. But photos are copyright. What you write for your posts on Medium are copyright to you. So if anybody wants to take your photos or use your maps or use your text or your prose, they need to attribute it to you or get, in the case of the photos, express written consent and get your permission to use them. So we'll go over that in just a minute. We're going to talk about writing, editing, and copyright law today. And what is copyright law? It protects authorship of original works, written designs, photos, and so on. Original works of authorship. So if you shoot a photo with your camera phone, you own the copyright to that photo. If somebody else shoots a picture or photo with your phone, they own the copyright, even though it's on your phone. So whoever pushes that button, takes the picture, they are the original author of that work, and they own the copyright to it. It's very important. You know, copyright for my books, copyright for your stories. It protects your authorship. This will be a short answer question on your midterm, so make sure you know this. Copyright law protects authorship of original works. There are other laws too that protects things like video rights and music. Typically it's the song lyrics or a certain guitar riff or something like that. Those aren't protected by copyright. Those are, just legal rights to them. There is one song that falls under copyright law. Usually I ask this in class. It's a birthday song. Happy birthday to you. That's why whenever you go out to a restaurant, they never sing the happy birthday song because it is copyright. And they could get in legal trouble for using it. Copyright's a little different from trademarking, but it does have similar protections. Like my website, Journalist Toolbox AI. I own the copyright to Journalist Toolbox, both the print for the book and for the online versions of it. I've had people try and knock off and create other Journalist Toolbox sites and label it that. And if they do, they get a letter from my lawyer saying cease and desist, or Mike will sue you because you're trying to, scam onto his web traffic or his brand name. So, if you have, a business or some product or something, a website that you've built that is making you money, trademark that name. You can do it for as little as $400 in LegalZoom. And it's a great protection, especially if somebody comes along and tries to take your work from you. Very important. So copyright law protects original authorship or authorship of original works, whether it be written, designs, photos, and so on. Stealing photos. Don't take photos or video off other websites unless it's a media resources section. It clearly states anyone can use it. You can embed YouTube videos into your posts. When people post to YouTube and make them public, that they give up the rights to that video. You can then take it and embed it into your, or link to it from your story or your website or Twitter or whatever. So you can't go into ESPN.com and NewYorkTimes.com and take their photos and put them on top of your story. If you do that in this class, you'll receive an F grade for it and be told to take it down. In the worst case scenario, someone could sue you for it. Best case is being told to take it down. So if you're got a website and you're making money off that website and you steal someone else's photos and put them on there without express written consent, they will have the right to come and sue you then. Usually they send you a cease and desist letter first, telling you to take it down. Photographers reverse image search their photos on Twitter and track people stealing their photos and their work. So YouTube and Vimeo again are fine. You can embed those. But otherwise, you got to get the person's permission to use the photos or the video. It's like at the end of sports telecasts, you hear, any use of this telecast must require express written consent of the NFL. Now there's short video clips. Sometimes you'll see, the 5 to 10 seconds NBA clips and things like that they just allow, for marketing purposes. People can take and use them. But if you're putting up a whole telecast or, a large chunk of a telecast, they're going to have an issue with that and they're going to come after you. The Openverse Creative Commons, if you are looking for rights-free images, they are available to you through Openverse or Google Reverse Image Search through a thing called Creative Commons. What Creative Commons does is allows you to license text and photos and websites in order to tell people, hey, you can use my website, you just have to credit me on it, or you have to link back to me. If you look at our website, redlineproject.news, at the very bottom of the page, I've got copyright 2024 Redline Project. This content is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. These are free to create these licenses. You can do them for any of your work as well. And mine is attribution unported. There's several different types of them. It says, this is an older license, that's fine. Tells people that you're free to share and use our work as long as you attribute it to us, particularly the student. And I have no other additional restrictions on it. It's kind of an open license to use our work. And a lot of Chicago newsrooms and others have picked up our work before and used them. And, the students get a byline out of it and, credit back, to their account. So that's Creative Commons. Well, how do we find Creative Commons images? You can go in and find those on Openverse, which used to be part of Creative Commons. It's now part of WordPress. WordPress bought it from them. There's 700 million creative works in here. So if I'm looking for a photo of Rahm Emanuel from when he was mayor, or Lori Lightfoot, I can go in here and find them. And there's some pictures of Rahm and a caricature of him. These are all rights-free images that you can use. So if I wanted to use this one, I could click on Get This Image and download it. It's got the license in here that tells you how to use it, how to attribute it. It's from Dan O'Neill. So you just attribute it to Dan. Usually I link back to him too. So this is how you find rights-free images through Openverse, which is openverse.org. The other way you can do it is search for images.google.com. This is, you've probably used this site before to look for images. And let's say I'm looking for a picture of Rahm Emanuel, and I can go in and there's some tools up here, forums, videos, and so on. I click on this tools page and it gives me a little pull down menu of tools. And I can search by filter type, filter time when the image was published, and usage rights, Creative Commons licenses. This will filter out only rights-free images. So it gives me a few more here, even than Openverse gave me. So I can do this one, Wikimedia Commons. Flickr has this nice one of him. Dan O'Neill's photos are right here, and there's some others. But these filter out all the copyright images and only give me rights-free images. So that's a practical way then to go in and apply, the copyright law and find rights-free images. Let's say you don't have a photo of Rahm, you need it. You'd still attribute it to Openverse, Creative Commons, and then whoever shot it. So I know, and so your readers know, that you didn't just steal this off the internet and take and use it. It's very important that you share that. So legal ways to post photos to your Medium account. Shoot the photo yourself. Get written permission from the person or organization that shot the photo or owns it. You can buy images off istockphoto.com. Logos are rights-free, so you can use a logo of UIC or something that's rights-free. There are what we call fair use protections. Is it bona fide news? And I'll get into that on the next slide. Use Openverse, the copyright, the fair use exception to the U.S. Copyright Act is here. And basically, if you're using something for educational purposes, so let's say I'm pulling an image that's copyright off the web and putting it into a slideshow for class. That's educational purposes. Or you're doing a presentation for class. You need an image of something, you need a picture of Joe Biden for your presentation. You're doing it for educational purposes, and it tips and balances in your favor. Somebody could still probably challenge it and try and sue you on it, but fair use is a pretty good protection in the copyright statute that you can use this. The other fair use exception is it bona fide news? News reporting. So if there's a breaking story on maybe a riot or a fire in downtown Chicago, and somebody shoots it and posts it to Twitter, embedding that tweet or sharing that tweet is fine. So using an image in a class slideshow is fine, but stealing an image and putting it in a textbook, for my textbooks, I had to get copyright permission on every single photo, all 160 of them in there. Some of them I created myself, so that was easy. But those aren't protected under fair use. So, just putting something in your blog that's some random image, unless you shot it or you got permission from the person to use it, or if it falls under a Creative Commons license, those are your only protections. So, don't test this. I try not to test the fair use law or exception an awful lot. I tend to follow the more strict Copyright Act structure. So, fair use is a protection, but it's pretty soft. Now, all of this, I'm going to ask you in your midterm, in a short answer question, what are some legal ways to post your photos to Medium? And, what is fair use in Creative Commons? You need to be able to explain those. So these 3 slides are really big ones for your midterm. Make sure you've looked at those very closely. Music is an exception, sometimes in your phone apps, they're not copyright except for Happy Birthday. But the record labels own the rights to that music, and sometimes the artists, T Swift and some others. Michael Jackson, before he passed, had rights to his own music. More and more country stars are getting it too. So they own the rights to their own music, their own lyrics, their own guitar riffs, whatever. But the RIAA, the Recording Institute Association of America, monitors these. They look at YouTube. Some concert footage is posted there, so you can use that. But they do monitor this. I would say probably Prince is the toughest. His label monitors it most closely. If you even have, one of his songs like "Let's Go Crazy" or "Little Red Corvette" playing in the background, and have your kid dancing to the music or something, boom, they'll come along and tell you to take it down. They're very strict on it. So rights-free audio and music's easy to find. Pond5, the free music archive. The SoundCloud has a lot of artists. Tools like Insta and TikTok have small audio clips that they have paid for the rights, so you can use them. They're short, usually 10 to 20 seconds. They work out those deals with the record labels. That's why you're able to use, a Jay-Z clip on TikTok, but not on a slideshow that you build for this class. So that's the difference. It depends on, what app you're using and do they have the rights to use that music. It's a little confusing, but, just err on the side of caution. A little bit about writing for the web. One of the things about digital and the nature of the digital realm is really you can put all the information you want out on the web. Server space is very cheap. Social accounts are free. So really, digital affords what we call this infinite pile of information. News requires that information is understood and carefully curated into a stack of facts and details. So we're taking that big infinite pile of information and paring it down into something that's relevant and has context for the reader. So using news correctly online is to fight the nature of the medium. The two kind of go against each other. And this is a quote from David Kiso, who's a friend of mine, teaches down at the University of Missouri. He's a great guy. But I really think it's relevant here. We're taking a lot of information as journalists and paring it down into just what's the most relevant facts and details, and also giving it some context. What does it mean to you as a reader? Remember, as journalists, we must keep in mind our own values and cultural biases and preconceptions and avoid opposing them on others. Try to be fair in our writing, ensure that our word choices and overall tone of our stories are fair and neutral. I didn't say objective here, but fair and neutral. Get multiple sides to a story, get a diversity of views in the story. Don't just tell one side of it. We see that a lot in our political coverage. It's very one-sided, either very left or very right. And we need to do more in between and find multiple perspectives. And be transparent in your reporting process. Don't surprise our story subjects. Typically, they're going to know that we're writing a story about them, and make sure you reach out to the person, for writing something about someone that's accused of something, for instance. We need to do that. Another good fundamental saying in journalism is if somebody says it's raining, another person says it's dry, it's not your job to quote both of them. It's your job to look out the window and find out which is true. Okay. It's your job to tell us who lied about the weather too. So don't just, write down if somebody said something, if, former President Trump said something very controversial and juicy, well, fact check it. Is what he said true? Same with Biden. Sometimes Biden in his State of the Union addresses stretches the truth. It's our job as journalists to find out which is true and tell us, this person was lying and here are the real facts. They'll manipulate data, all kinds of stuff, and not just, federal politicians. We get at the local level too. Here in Chicago. So that's why we're called the Windy City, by the way, not because the wind blows here, but because our politicians are windy. True story. You can look it up. You can look it up on Google. There you go. There's a little film clip here that I'm going to play from a TV show called The Newsroom. It reenacts kind of, that push to get it right. And it's based on a true story. This is an old HBO TV show, but it was based on the U.S. Congresswoman Gabby Giffords and when she was shot back in 2011. When she was first shot in a parking lot, she was getting up to give a stump speech and a gunman stepped up and shot her. Some of the early reports, including National Public Radio, had her dead. As we did more reporting and people found out, oh, wait a minute, she's still alive and she's in surgery, she wound up living. She's alive to this day. So I'm going to play this clip, and I want you to kind of watch this anchor here, Jeff Daniels, Dumb and Dumber. He's from also, he plays the anchor, and he says, "Wait until we can confirm it ourselves. Don't just re-report what others are reporting. Let's know for sure. Let's confirm the facts." Kind of what I was talking about in that previous video. So here we go, or previous slide, excuse me. Panic in the news.
What's going on?
There's been a shooting in Tucson and a congresswoman, Gabrielle Giffords, been shot in the head.
Give me our Tucson affiliate. Charlie Skinner, New York, controls breaking in.
A lot of slow motion and sappy music, but gotta go on the air with this.
To let it go.
No, she's been shot. She's dead or alive.
Into our program with breaking news, the local Tucson newspaper is reporting that Arizona Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords has been shot while holding a public event in Tucson outside of a grocery store. Possibly as many as 12 others have been rushed to an area hospital, according to. We're now learning that 3 members of Gabrielle Giffords' staff were among those wounded and rushed to University Medical Center in Tucson.
Does he have an arrest record?
Had him for over an hour now. How can they not know who he is?
He's not going on the air with maybe.
Jim.
No, an arrest record.
Jim.
Okay, can you tell me if the congresswoman?
These are the producers that are going out and confirming all the information. The producers do all the reporting, and they feed the information then to the control room, and gets turned into a script, and then the anchor reads it off to you.
This district office has received any threats?
Jim.
Yeah.
NPR is saying she's dead.
Anyone else?
No.
She's not dead yet.
You just
Okay, she's not dead yet. Okay, even though somebody else is reporting she is dead, until they know it, have it confirmed by a family member, have it confirmed by the hospital, have it confirmed by her husband, something like that, then she's not dead yet. We don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. That's what he's telling her.
joining us, a gunman in Arizona opened fire.
Fox, MSNBC, and CNN are all calling in.
Let me hear MSNBC.
A sole source of information that reports that the Arizona Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords has been killed in this heinous attempt on her life, along with.
This is real. They actually reported this. Got to make the call.
We're going to show you now an interview Gabrielle Giffords gave just last year. This is Congresswoman Giffords. What's going on?
Every second you're not current, 1,000 people are changing the channel to the guy who is. That's the business you're in. MSNBC, Fox, and CNN all say she's dead. Don, tell them. Don. It's a person. A doctor pronounces her dead, not the news. Five, four.
Got to make the decision.
What we know so far is that Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords and 12 others were shot when the gunman opened fire.
Notice he stressed the word shot there. Okay. So later they find out that she's still alive, and they go on the air and are the first to report that nope, all the other media outlets had it wrong. She's still alive. They had to confirm it themselves, and they confirmed it through a family member that she was in surgery, and they called the hospital. So this very dramatic clip. It's Aaron Sorkin, who also did The Social Network. This is a good series. It tackled a lot of journalism ethics issues and things like that. But getting it right. Wait and make sure you have it confirmed yourself and you got it right. Just because everybody else is reporting it. We had this with Kobe Bryant's death. OJ's death, wait until it's confirmed by a family member, until, you go reporting it, or the hospital, agents too, a lot of times with, actors and actresses, the agent will confirm it. But don't just, like you said, it's a person. Doctor pronounces them dead, not the news. I thought that was a very profound way of putting it. This is based on a true story. A lot of these news outlets misreported it back in 2011. I remember it myself. Oh God, she's dead. Oh, wait a minute, no, she's alive. Ooh, somebody made a big mistake. And that's how you lose trust with your viewers and readers, big time. Remember, managing, you're not just managing one deadline now. We have deadlines all the time in this class at various times throughout the day. I do that on purpose. I don't make them do it midnight or 11:59 p.m. or whatever, because journalists, we have deadlines, all around different times of the day. So that's why you're going to get multiple types of deadlines in this class. One of the big skills you pick up in this class is how to work a content management system like Medium or WordPress. And you learn how to tell stories across multiple platforms. You also get a lot of digital life skills in here too, just how to manage your passwords and security and manage your social media online. They can be big time drains and things like that. News judgment, reporting skills, all these other things you'll pick up out of class as well. You learn to write tight and concisely, one sentence lead paragraph on news stories, scannable text, short paragraphs, bullet points. Even listicles, 10 things to know about this or that. It helps break up the page. It makes it more readable for your readers. This will be a short answer question on your midterm. What's the 1 through 5 rule of paragraph writing? It's a little tip to remind us how to write short paragraphs. A lot of people are reading the work on mobile devices, on these little phones or iPads, things like that. We want to keep our paragraphs very short because people can retain more information that way. When you take your college entrance exams, it gives you a long paragraph from maybe a history text or something like that. That's because it's harder to retain information from that paragraph as you read it and then answer questions about reading comprehension. Well, we write shorter, tighter paragraphs with shorter, more concise sentences because we want the reader to better understand what we're saying. One idea per paragraph, 2 to 3 sentences per paragraph maximum, and 4 to 5 type lines typically on Word or Google Docs maximum. So 1 through 5, one idea, 2 to 3 sentences, 4 to 5 lines. Your direct quotes from your people you'll interview for your final project will stand alone in their own paragraphs. Most journalists are writing to an 8th grade level. We keep it very simple. So that's part of our challenge. We have to, take large amounts of complex information, legal or medical information, and write it in a way that people can understand it, digest it all the way down to an 8th grade level. Jacob Nielsen, who runs a website called useit.com, talks about how people don't read the web, they scan it, which we do. We look for bold-faced words, subheads, short paragraphs, simple sentences to increase readability. People read the web in an F pattern. They read across, and then scroll down. For print, we read a magazine or a newspaper in Z format. We read across, zigzag down, and then across the bottom. So that F pattern is very important. You want to have very important information going across the top, the middle of the screen, and then people are going to scroll down to see the toolbar or the rest of the story down the left or right-hand rail. We always write in active voice, not passive voice, and not passive-aggressive voice, which is a little joke here if you read the slide closely. But always try to write in active voice. There's sometimes you can't get around it if you're doing like an arrest story. It's 31-year-old Chicago man was arrested and charged Thursday with trespassing in Lincolnwood, whatever. But yeah, very rarely do we write passive voice. It's typically active voice, subject, verb, object, structure. When we write our stories for this class, we're going to use what's called the inverted pyramid format for stories. Get the most newsworthy information up first. Answer these key questions: who, what, when, where, why, how, and how much. First couple of paragraphs should really get to the point quickly and answer those key questions. Then we get into other important information that's kind of supports it, maybe some data or some specifics, and then maybe some background. Usually you can just link off to the background like we did with the practice story last week. So this little chart kind of lays it out for you how to structure your stories for this class. Today's news cycle typically starts with a short tweet or a news bulletin, maybe on the TV ticker or a push news bulletin, kind of like they did on the newsroom video I showed you. They went up with a quick little ticker, and then the anchor came on with a news bulletin. So way it's worked since the dawn of time, with TV, then the web, and now with social media, with Twitter. Then you'll file a brief, short paragraph, 3-paragraph story or blog, and then you'll update the story later. The news bulletin that came across on 9/11 was first news bulletin from the Associated Press was plane hits, World Trade Center tower. Didn't even know which one. Then it began to become 2 sentences, 3-4 paragraphs. And as we got more information, AP added more information to the story, which tower it was. Oh my God, it was a commercial jet. Then the second tower, and then more detail. So how many fire trucks were on the scene and things like that. And it began to expand on that story. But oftentimes it starts with a simple sentence. Gabrielle Giffords was shot. Plane hits World Trade Center tower. It starts there. And then it expands into something more detailed. Then the last step is really we start sharing raw video and quick audio clip or short video interview with maybe a witness to it. But the most important thing with kind of following through this news cycle is be accurate. That's really important. Other ways of writing stories, we can kind of write stories in short chunks, like as little mini chapters or lists. I've had some students do their final projects that way, as timelines as well. I had some students do a timeline of what happened to 2020, and you can click on this and play through it if you want to. You can relive 2020, what a year it was. They told the story that way, which was very interesting. They did that as part of their final project for this class. Always ask yourself, must I write this? Would video, audio, maybe an infographic better tell the story? How can I get the reader involved in the story? Crowdsource. Ask them for photos of a breaking news event. Ask them for information. Hey, I'm doing a story on, teen suicide. Does anybody out there know of a family member that maybe attempted suicide, or parents of someone who committed suicide? I had a student do that a few semesters ago. And wound up getting a couple of really good sources for a story on teen suicide. We saw that this data was up on it. And there were more teen suicides nationally, globally, and here in Illinois. So we reached out and we found some people who would talk to us about it. It's a very sensitive story, but they crowdsourced and found them. They probably wouldn't have found them had they not done that. Always pay attention to grammar, AP style, punctuation, proofread your work. In 1960s, Batman's right. Good grammar is essential, Robin. So it's very important that you read through your work before posting it. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about headlines too. Good headline kicks you in the eyeballs. New York Post is known for writing some very controversial and very racy headlines. But each one of your stories in here should have what we call an SEO crafted headline, search engine optimization. It helps search engines index the story. The first 4 to 5 words are key. Typically, your headline is going to be 7 to 9 words long and subject, verb, object structure. Who did what? Okay. And we're going to look at some examples here. Nielsen's study showed that readers typically scan the first 4 words, 25 characters of an online headline. So here's a bad online headline that you'd probably get out of a newspaper. It's a fictional story. Police arrest 2 for prostitution, including Thorpe. A little bit better is police arrest Thorpe for prostitution. Better, Chancellor Thorpe arrested in prostitution ring. The best one is Harvard Chancellor Thorpe, and there is no such person. I made this up. Harvard Chancellor Thorpe arrested in prostitution ring. If you were searching for this story, you'd probably be typing in Harvard Chancellor, prostitution, or Thorpe and prostitution to find that story. Okay, so that's why this last one's the best. Who did what? It's very simple. It's 7 words. It's got so many keywords in it that people would use to search. This is a good headline, but it's vastly different from this newspaper headline up top. Okay, that's the difference. Most search engines show the first 75 characters. So after that, it does a little ellipses, a dot after it. Print headlines, you can have puns and metaphors in them. Most online headlines, because search engines are literal, print headlines don't always translate. Search engine, if you type in bears, it doesn't know if you're looking for polar bears, grizzly bears, or the Chicago Bears. So you need to be more specific in your online headline. And they're kind of boring to write online headlines. You know, print headlines are fun. You know, if you take my editing class in the spring, you learn to write those. So pretty cool. Here's another example. This is the print headline from the Chicago Tribune. Bowman staking claim to quarterback job. Online, they actually used his first and last name. Chicago Bears Zach Bowman staking claim to starting job. I probably would have put cornerback in here too. They put it in the subhead. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Here's why you always want to be careful with the number of characters. And this headline's way too long that the Tribune wrote. Look where it cut off the headline. It should have ellipses here, but it didn't. To his home, it should be. Governor Pritzker's now confined to his home, not his hoe. So that's, you always want to check these things after you write your headlines too, because, this is very embarrassing. Try to avoid acronyms and abbreviations that aren't widely used. Things like FBI, CIA, NBA, NCAA are commonly used, but BOE for Board of Elections, not widely used. AP Stylebook has some good advice on using acronyms. So look up the acronyms section in the AP Stylebook. It lists a bunch of them that you can use. This is actually kind of a clever headline that they did online. Mark Zuckerberg, dead at 36, says social media sites should not fact check posts. So a little play on words there, kind of a long headline, but I thought it was kind of a funny one. So that is it for this lecture. It was a long one, but we wanted to get you through everything. Just before we sign off here and get to our Thursday stuff, make sure you've done the homework. Read chapter 1 in Journal's Toolbox textbook. Skip pages 33 to 37. It's they dropped in a random transcript from one of my training videos for the online version of the book in there and didn't remove it. They actually got in trouble for that. We caught it on the proofing and they fixed it in 2 chapters, but not in chapter 1. So there's just this random little script in there from my training video that's just in there randomly. So just skip over that. Read Writing the Tweets handout, how to write tweets for this class. Set up the aforementioned AI accounts that I mentioned up above. And if you're new to Google Docs, this isn't required, but if you haven't used Google Docs before, my friend Jeremy Kaplan, he teaches at CUNY and runs the Wonder Tools newsletter. He gives a nice little primer in here of how to use it. So it's a good way to kind of get started with it. He offers some good little hacks and tips in here on how to make your docs look better and things like that. So it might be worth it. If you're experienced with Google Docs, you don't need to worry about it. But if you haven't used them before, definitely explore them. We'll get to the Thursday video next. But thanks for your attention and sorry for the long video here, but we had a lot of ground to cover. Thanks, everybody.